When doing type of electronics projects or repairs, it's always a good idea to validate the components that you're about to install inside your project. You want to confirm that the values are correct and that they're not faulty from the get-go. That will save you a lot of headache in the future when you're trying to debug why this is not working. For resistors, it's quite easy. You just use your multimeter and ohm settings. You can confirm the value. For chokes and transformers, you can use the ohm readings to confirm DCR values and that there's connectivity. But when it comes to capacitors, it's a little bit different. You can get a nicer multimeter that has the capacitance setting on the multimeter to confirm that. But when it comes to ESR or leakage, you do need some sort of special device to measure that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple leakage tester, how I built it, the components I used, and how I use it. My name is Mike. Thanks for clicking this video. Welcome to my shop. When building my 60 and 7 amp several years ago, I ran into some major voltage discrepancies between the two channels. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. The amp worked, but the voltage was way out of whack. At that time, my multimeter didn't have capacitance settings, so I went ahead and created these two capacitor testers, and it turns out one of the coupling caps was faulty. A brand new cap, but faulty from the factory, or maybe I fried it soldering, who knows. So for the longest time, I've been using this Fluke 73 series meter. It's a pretty basic meter, but it works well. Unfortunately, it does not have any capacitance setting, and it doesn't go down low enough into the microamps to detect any type of minor leakage that a capacitor may have. So I went ahead and I built this Arduino-based capacity tester. So what this does, it tests capacitance using the time constant. So I have a 47 microfarad 63 volt electrolytic capacitor on the leads here. And we'll just flick this on. So right now it is all discharge 0, and then when I flick it over to test, it does the time constants and it measures 47 microfarads. A lot of multimeters now have the capacitance setting, so you don't really need to make something like this unless you don't want to spend the money. These are pretty low cost to make. I know some of you guys aren't into Arduino stuff, but if you are, please leave a comment below and I can do a video on this. We're here to check leakage. So I went ahead and created a simple circuit. It utilizes a very sensitive LED, and when we put a current through a capacitor and there's any type of leakage, this LED will light up. This LED is so sensitive that it will actually illuminate under 1 microamp. Now, I didn't come up with this circuit. Something similar like this can be found on Mr. Carlson's lab. He does a more complicated version of this. It's something I didn't want to build, but I did stumble across John's Audio Tech, and he breadboarded something like this as well. Unfortunately, he didn't go into many details on part numbers he used, so I did a deeper dive and figured that out, and he just breadboarded his, and if I breadboard anything, it pretty much doesn't get used. It just goes into a box. So I put it into enclosure and made it more user-friendly. Let's take a look at the basic schematic. For the power supply, it can go up to about 50 volts because that's all the circuit could really handle. Batteries are recommended, but if you do use some sort of AC to DC converter, it needs to be highly filtered. Any type of AC ripple getting into this will skew the results. We just need a basic switch, and then the capacitor it tests, the standoffs there, and we need a current limiting resistor for the LED, and then the LED is the indium gallium nitride, and of course we need a protection diode to protect that LED for any reverse voltage. So the way this circuit works, capacitors will allow AC to pass but block DC. So by putting this capacitor in a strictly DC circuit and the LED illuminates, that means that the capacitor could be leaking or have low dielectric strength. Now, larger capacitors, the LED light may remain on until it's charged up, but for smaller ones, it will just be blip and stay off. Now, if the light stays on indefinitely, that means you have a questionable capacitor. So let's take a look at the components here. They're all available at Mouser, and I'll put a link in the description below. The heart of this device is this LED. This is an indium gallium nitride. Now you want to go with a good quality here. I went with the TT. And if you look at the data sheet here, you'll see that the green is by far the brightest. These are very sensitive and they will emit under like 1 microamp. So you want to make sure you get the green one so it's the brightest for you to see in a lighted environment. And if we look at the data sheet again, you can see that the reverse spike is a maximum of 5 volts. Now, if we're testing a capacitor that might have some charge on it, it could backfeed and fry the LED. So what we want to do is install a protection diode. So we'll put this in reverse of the actual LED. And I'm using here, as recommended by John, 1N4148. If we turn the circuit on and the capacitor does have some charge, we are not going to fry the LED. So the two other things we need is a 10K resistor to limit the current through the LED so we don't fry it. And we also need a 1 meg resistor to verify that the LED actually functions under very low current. So what we do is we put this in place of the capacitor, which completes the circuit. And if the LED emits, then we know it will function under very low current. I'll put links in the video description below of all the components that I use. I also include a schematic and a layout diagram to show you how I built everything in this enclosure. When you're buying the LEDs, make sure you buy a couple of them so you can test to see which one's the most sensitive. And in the 1 meg resistors, you can actually put 2, 3, or 4 of them in series to make like a 3 or 4 meg resistor to see which LED is actually the most sensitive. Therefore, you have the most accurate and most sensitive device that you can test leakage with. I made a custom enclosure here on my 3D printer. It's just a standard PLA yellow. I made a black LED holder. So it's a 3mm hole. The LED sits nicely in there so you can see the contrast when it lights up. You can power this 3 different ways. Inside there's a 9-volt battery. You could also put a larger DC battery pack with this plug, and when you plug it in, it switches out the 9-volt battery inside. And if you need more voltage, you can do an external power supply here, and you can flick up 50 volts, or you can monitor your voltage across that as well with a multimeter. Now for the capacitor testing, I have a discharge button here. So this is normally open, and when you push on it, it discharges the capacitor, shorts it out. There's a little RC circuit in there. Ideally, you want to do that while it's off. And for checking the capacitor, I just have these clip-on leads. So I'll show you how it works here. I have a 47 microfarad 63 volt electrolytic capacitor in here. I have the black on the negative, red on the positive. Ideally, you want to be measuring leakage at the voltage rating of the capacitor. Since I only have 9 volts in here right now, we'll make do. But on the other side is you want to make sure that you don't exceed the voltage rating of your capacitor as well, because you do damage to it. So when that's all plugged in, we'll discharge it. So it's all discharged there. And then we will turn it on. And you can see that it's charging up and it's glowing a little bit. But eventually, once that reaches the full charge, it should stop glowing green. Now if it remained green, then that means that this capacitor is faulty. So a neat thing about this device as well is you can actually put a multimeter in series of the testing. So this one here is an inexpensive one that I picked up from Harbor Freight, and it allows you to do microamps of current testing. So I have this in series with this capacitor, and what we'll do is we will discharge it. You can see there was charge on the capacitor, so we'll discharge it here. And then when we turn it on, you can see that it's charging up. You can see the current draw, and then once it's fully charged, it should almost zero out. So it's coming down to 0.1 of a microamp. So this leakage tester works really good at these lower value capacitors where the time constant is quite short, so it charges up really fast. These are typically what you would see in a coupling capacitor and tube amp, so it's a good idea to check those so you don't damage any tubes. It will work with electrolytics up to like 10 or 22 microfarads. It really struggles at these larger electrolytic capacitors. So this is 100 microfarads. It would take a while for this to charge up for the light to go off. So it does work, but you just need some patience. Just have a quick look at the inside here. Nothing fancy, no PCBs, pretty straightforward. I just have the LED and the diode kind of soldered to its own leads. I have the current limiting resistor soldered directly to the standoff here, and then I have the discharge circuit kind of grounding out this capacitor section. I have a small RC circuit here, so this is a low value resistor to safely discharge the capacitor. Pretty straightforward. My only recommendation to you guys, if you do decide to build this, that you may not need this. You could probably put multiple 9-volt batteries in here and maybe have that switchable. But I do find that this is very handy for an external power supply. Just make sure it's a good quality one, or you could use it to put a multimeter in here to see what the real-time voltage is. Well, I hope this video inspires you to build a leakage tester like this. If you had any more questions about it, please leave a comment below. If you want to know more information about this capacitance tester, please leave a comment below and I can do a deeper dive on this. These devices are very handy to have on your test bench. And as I mentioned, I'll be leaving the schematic, layout, and the parts number of how I built mine in a link below. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.